Welcome to our video series on using prerequisite tree thinking tools for business. In this video, we'll add obstacles to our prerequisite tree. Now that we've decided on our strategic objective, our goal, our top-level goal for our business, and keep in mind that strategic objectives and prerequisite trees can, of course, be used for personal goals where you want a lot of clarity about what's stopping you from having that goal and the steps needed to reach that goal. So prerequisite trees are very useful for both personal and business decision-making if you so desire. But what we're going to focus on in this video is for business decision-making and getting clarity on how you can get to where you want to go, where you want to get to. So we've decided on our strategic objective. Now let's start putting down on our worksheet obstacles that exist right now, basically describing situations that exist right now that are stopping this strategic objective from becoming a reality. So first of all, we want to pick the obstacle item here, the obstacle object. There we go, OBS. So click anywhere, and what I often do is put all the obstacles on the left side of the paper, and then as we progress, the solutions to those obstacles on the right, and then tidy it up from there, as you'll see. So let's put the obstacles down. So click here, and OK, Edit Entity box appears. Again, I don't want the display name and display number to appear, and I'm going to stick with the default border style and thickness. Okay, in the first instance, you don't want to think about it too much. You just want to put things down on the screen. So, our business makes at least $5 million a year in sales during 2009 with a significant profit margin and with delighted customers. What exists right now that is stopping that from being a reality? Of course, one obstacle would be the business is not making $5 million a year in sales, but obviously that's largely redundant. Many obstacles are quite redundant, but we don't need to get to that level of duplication. So let's start listing what's actually stopping that. So let's say, first of all, we are not bringing in enough new customers to make $5 million a year in sales. Okay, obstacle 1, okay that, and there it is. Let me cancel that. I was going to resize that, but actually I'll go back and resize them later. Next obstacle. Let's get rid of the display name and display number. And we can say, on average, we do not make enough revenue per customer to reach or to have $5 million a year in sales. And again, it's helpful to phrase these in present tense. You don't want to focus on obstacles that don't exist right now. You want to focus specifically on obstacles that do exist right now. So let's OK that first of all. And actually, let me just tidy these up a little. Let's get the pointer tool and resize that. That doesn't take up quite so much room. Okay, first of all, we are not bringing in enough new customers to make $5 million a year in sales. Let's say that exists right now, and that's stopping this strategic objective from being a reality, and this is a perceived obstacle. It is, of course, a genuine obstacle. However, you could, of course, overcome lack of new customers by increasing how much you make per customer. But really, the safest way to grow a business is to do both, to keep bringing in new customers and keep bringing in more customers, but also make more from every customer. Doing those two things together is a more reliable way and a more stable way to grow the business rather than just depending on one or the other. Because if you bring in a lot of new customers but you're not optimizing the revenue per customer, and when I say you aren't optimizing the revenue per customer, I mean making them want to buy from you again and again and again, and buy more and more and more. I don't just mean increasing the amount a customer spends with you once, because obviously you could overcharge a customer and potentially make a lot of money that way, but they would never come back. And that's a very short-term way to grow a business. You're constantly trying to get new customers in the door to make up for the lack of customers that stick around. So what you really want to do is bring in new customers and make them really happy with your service and make them want to spend more with you and more regularly with you. So not only do you increase how much they spend with you per transaction, but also you increase how often, how regularly they purchase from you. Of course, the other way, if you decide not to bring in new customers, but specifically focus on increasing how much each customer spends with you, that can work in the short term, but over time, there's going to be customer attrition, just because some customers are going to go out of business, some are going to change their business, some are going to decide, for whatever reason, not to do business with you anymore. So you really need both of these for a stable business, a stable and growing business. Okay, what are other obstacles that could be preventing that? And again, don't think about it too much in the first place. Just write down what comes to mind and then tidy up later. So let's say we do not have enough trained staff to support $5 million a year in sales. Okay, that. And let's resize and tidy this up a little. And what we're doing here, of course, are the big obstacles stopping the strategic objective from being a reality. You could, of course, get to such a level as saying, just as a quick example, we do not have the parking spaces to support the staff necessary to bring in $5 million a year in sales. Now, that's really not a huge obstacle to what you're trying to achieve, but that can be included in a prerequisite tree, a lower down prerequisite tree, and I'll come to that in a later video. But really, this level of detail isn't needed at this level of prerequisite tree, because such an obstacle, if it is an obstacle, isn't going to make or break your reaching your goal, because it's a pretty easy thing to find a solution to. Okay, let's do a couple more. And what you would do yourself is you would keep adding obstacles until you've exhausted all possible obstacles, all possible concerns or worries about why this isn't possible right now. But again, right now, don't start imagining things that might occur a few months down the road or a couple of years down the road, for example. Only list obstacles that exist right now. Okay, another obstacle our product and service line is not broad enough to support $5 million a year in sales. And I think that will actually overlap quite a bit with this obstacle. So I think this obstacle, as we start tidying up the prerequisite tree, this obstacle has a lot of overlap with this obstacle, and one of them may be redundant. But this becomes a lot clearer as we go through the process. So let's tidy this up. And for example's sake, just add one more. I'm not going to do an exhaustive obstacle list in this example because that could go on for a couple hours and wouldn't be a very interesting demonstration. So really, for this example, let's just add one more. Okay, let's say we do not have the appropriate know-how to grow to make $5 million a year in sales. So with this obstacle, I'm assuming that the company, as it stands right now, doesn't know exactly how to reach that goal. Okay, so those are some sample obstacles. Let's actually save that. File save. Okay. So now we've put our obstacles down on the worksheet. In the next video, we're going to start finding solutions to these obstacles so we can actually overcome them and reach our strategic objective.